We are taking a look at a game from PrepTest 50, game number 4. And this is a game about somebody eating alphabet soup. There are only 6 letters left in the bowl. They're going to eat these 6 letters in 3 spoonfuls, 1, 2, and 3. They have to eat 1 to 3 letters per spoonful, so you can't have any empty spoonfuls. I guess an empty spoonful doesn't even make sense. And then they create some kind of game about how they're going to eat them. So sketch 1, 2, 3 across the top. The letters will go in here. Obviously, some of them will have, maybe it goes 2, 2, 2. Maybe it goes 1, 2, 3. Maybe it goes 3, 2, 1. We have no idea the exact numerical distribution. We have some rules. U is in a later spoonful than T. And then we have the rule that probably tricked some people up on test day, and this is a very common phrasing for a rule like this. It says U is not in a later spoonful than X. Well, U not being in a later spoonful might mean that U comes before X, but it might also mean that U and X come in the same spoonful. We don't know which one of these is happening. Whenever you get a rule on the LSAT that says something is not in a later one and you have the possibility of ties, that is to say 2 things appearing in the same slot, you'll end up with something like this. Something comes before it, or maybe they end up together. We find out that Y is in a later spoonful than W, and U is in the same spoonful as Y or Z, but not both. We'll have a UY or UZ, but we won't have both of them. The only ones we can really combine here, if you wanted to take a second to do it, would be to say that you're going to have either T, U, X, or you're going to have T, U, X together in the same spoonful if you want to take a second to do that. Otherwise, I would not bother too much about the deductions. If you take a look at this game, question 18, you're going to use the rules to solve. Questions 19, 20, and 22 all begin with the word if, which indicates that we should probably make some kind of new sketch. And that only leaves us with question number 21 that might be based upon the rules or deductions or old sketches. Don't worry too much about doing deductions up front on this game. So let's just jump right into it. Question 18. We tend to solve these questions just using our rules. And in this case, go through them one at a time. I need the T before the U. Answer choice A checks out, B checks out, C checks out, but answer choice D has T and U in the same spoonful, and we can knock out D. I need U and X together, or I need U coming before X. So any answer choices that happen to have X coming before U, well, we could eliminate those. A checks out, B checks out, C checks out. But then we get down to E. X is in the second spoonful, U is in the third. That cannot possibly be. E is gone. We need W coming before the Y. Answer choice A has Y coming before the W. And answer choice C has W and Y together in the same spoonful. Rule by rule by rule, you end up on B. Cannot possibly fail. Good on that one. And always go rule by rule. Don't check all your rules against A and all your rules against B and all your rules. It's faster and certainly leaves your head clearer if you check one rule at a time rather than trying to juggle multiple answer choices and multiple rules at once. So on to question 19. And here we're told that Y is the only letter in one of the spoonfuls. Now, problematically, it doesn't tell us which spoonful. But if Y is going to be alone, and it doesn't tell us which spoonful, we should try and work this outside of the sketch. There's no need to force it into the constraints of the sketch if we can work it outside. So Y is going to be alone. W, of course, we go to our rules about it. W is going to come before it. What other rules do we have about Y? Well, we have this one here about the UY and the UZ. Since Y is going to be alone, I now know it's going to be U and Z. May as well write this down. What do you know about U and Z? Well, I know that T comes before U, so I should write this down as well. So now I've already accounted for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my 6 letters. Who's missing from all this? X. We have not placed X yet. But X can't be with Y because Y is going to be alone. X, since it has to go with you or come after you. Now think about what would happen if X came after you. There was a T, there was a U, Z, there was some dots, there was an X. Well, in that case, Y could not be alone. We'd have T and U and Z and X. What needs to happen is X must be in this spoonful. So if Y is going to be alone, and we're going to have something like this going on, and W comes before Y and T comes before U, Z, and X, what's going to end up happening? W and T must be in the same spoonful together. Y is going to be in some spoonful by itself. U, Z, and X are going to be in some spoonful by themselves. It's the only way we can make this work and still have Y be alone. And this is just a could be true. Let's take a look through the answer choices. Y is in the first spoonful. No, Y is in the second or third spoonful. Z is in the first spoonful. No, Z is in the second or third spoonful. T is in the second spoonful. No, T is somewhere in the first spoonful. X is in the second spoonful. Well, we take a look at that. Could X be in the second spoonful? It could be in the second or the third. We don't know which one, but we've got our could be true. Don't force it into the constraints of the sketch. You force it into the constraints of the sketch, one, you probably would have lost your mind. You would have ended up making a lot of different sketches. But given the fact that this question did not specify which spoonful, you're better off working it outside of the sketch. On we go to 20. And 20 says, if Z is in the first spoonful, then which the following must be true. So we put our Z in the first spoonful, and we go to our rules about Z. What do we know about Z? Z might be with U, or U might be with Y, so we should ask ourselves, could I have U here in the first spoonful? And the thing is, I know T comes before U, so now I know that I'm definitely not going to have a U and a Z together. I know it must be the UY. So somewhere off to the side, or we can write it down here as a matter of fact, we know we're going to have a U and a Y together for sure. What's coming before that U and a Y? I know that there must be a T coming before it. Who else is coming before that Y? Remember, I know there's a W coming before that Y as well. I don't know how this T and the W relate to each other. And then, who am I missing from all this? Once again, I'm missing X. What do I know about X? I know X is either in this spoonful with the U and the Y, or it's coming after. I don't know which one, and so probably very quickly, just to get this out of my head, I'll have the U and the Y and the X, or I'll have the U and the Y and the X. I don't know how this interacts with this, but I know it's one of these. And we're looking for something that must be true in one of these combinations, and I don't know how these combinations exactly interact with this for sure. So T is in the second spoonful. T might be in the second spoonful here, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's in the first spoonful. I don't actually know how it interacts with the Z. U is in the third spoonful. U might be in the last spoonful, but U might also be in the second spoonful. No idea. W is in the first spoonful. W could be in the first spoonful, but W could also be in the second spoonful. And D says W is in the second spoonful. We've already covered that as a possibility. But finally, X is in the third spoonful. Notice, in both of these possibilities, X is coming at the end. X is either at the end by itself, or X is at the end with U, Y, and X. And 100% in 20E must be true. On we go. We'll do 22 next, and then we'll come back to 21. Question 22 says, T is in the second spoonful, and we're looking for something that could be true. So we go to our rules about T. What do we know about T? T comes before U. So I'll stick a U there. Now that U is in spoonful number 3, I can't have UX. I'm going to have UX together in a spoonful. Who is missing from all of this thus far? Well, write it off to the side again. I still know there's a W and a Y going in there, and there's also going to be a Z going somewhere. Do I know if I have UZ? I could have UZ. Could I have UY? Possibly. We're just looking for something that could be true in this case, not something that's definitively true. And let's take a look at answer choice A. Exactly 2 letters are in the first spoonful. Sure, I could have W and Z together in the first spoonful. That would work just fine. And you're done. If you are not confident about 22, and 22, definitely A, you can take a look at the other ones. Answer choice B says 3 letters in the first spoonful. I can't have 3 letters in the first spoonful. W is coming before Y, so Y is definitely in spoonful 2 or 3. And W and Z, they're the only things that could go there. Exactly 3 letters in the second spoonful. If I put 3 letters in the second spoonful, I wouldn't have anything to go with the U. I wouldn't have the UY or the UZ. I need a third letter here. Exactly 1 letter in the third spoonful? No, there's definitely 2. Exactly 2 letters in the third spoonful? Again, one of Y or Z has to join U here. It can't happen. But ideally on test day, if you see it's A, you choose A and you move on. It's a good could be true. And then we come back to question 21, and question 21 just says, which of the following is a complete list of letters, any one of which could be the only letter in the first spoonful? Just write out a list of your players in this game, and we say to ourselves, well, who can't be in the first spoonful? I know U can't because it comes after T. I know X can't because it either comes after U or it's with U. So goodbye X. I know it can't be Y. But could it be T, W, or Z? It could be T, W, or Z. And guess what? Answer choice D says that. And we are done with this game. Nice and fast. A lot of working outside the sketch instead of working inside the sketch. If you tried to compel things to be inside the sketch, you probably ended up with quite a mess. Hope this helped. As always, if there are any questions, please leave them in the comments below or drop me an email.